Do you want to know how to crush your fairway woods both from the fairway and the rough? Hi everyone, my name's James Robinson. Welcome back to Get Good at Golf. On this channel I aim to help you get good at golf just one day at a time. If you want bonus content, if you want giveaways, if you want meetups in the summer, go check out our memberships over on the Sunday Club. But today we are out here in Dallas, Texas, and we actually have, if you watch my main channel, we've bought some cheaper golf clubs. This is a V-Steel forward. It's a fantastic club, very versatile. You can see that V-Steel technology helping us through the turf. But how does this really work? You see, I've got a ball in the fairway here and a ball in the rough. We're going to attack these ever so slightly different, but the key here is we want to retain this loft all the way through the swing into impact. We have 16 degrees of loft on here. This is plenty to get the ball airborne, to get it traveling a long way. And from the fairway, we're going to try and sweep this ball from the turf. So almost similar to a driver technique, although we're going to hit down it ever so slightly. You might see a little divot after the ball here using that V-Steel technology. And from here, I'm going to make sure that I turn into my left side. I always want my weight on my left side at impact no matter what shot I'm playing. I'm going to have a nice neutral impact position there. I may take a tiny bit of dynamic loft off, but not too much, so I'm retaining that loft all the way through. So especially off the fairway, you'll see here as a shot, we've got a 250 carry over water, and I can hit a nice high shot there. That's all over it, Chris, by the way. What a shot that is. That is up there as well, and you'll see, guys, we have had some turf interaction after the ball there, so you can see a nice little bit of turf interaction. So I've hit down on that ever so slightly, even if I've hit it just a touch toey. Now, how do I do this differently from the rough? I'm almost going to treat this as though it's teed up. You'll see that the rough out here in Texas is quite kind of lush, so now that ball is sat higher on the turf. This means I don't have to try and hit down on it too much, because if I do that, I'm going to start chipping away at the top edge of this V-Steel wood, and that certainly isn't what we want to be doing, even if it did only cost $30 or $35, I think it was, wasn't it? So I'm going to treat this a little bit more like a driver, move the ball position more forward. It's going to be easier to launch in the air. This is actually an easier shot than in the fairway. The problem comes, like we're going to show you in just a second, when it's sat down in the rough. But I can get that ball position forward. I have a nice wide takeaway here, so I'm going to create plenty of speed. I'm going to retain the loft, and from here treat it more like a drive. Keep the sternum back just a little bit more as well, and you can see again a really nice high penetrating shot. You know what, I might put this in the bag. I might have to take this home. Can we zoom in on that, Chris? Middle of the green from 250 yards out in the rough. It really does help when you hit a ball out the middle like I have done there. Now guys, I'm going to show you one out the deep rough, but also Chris is going to jump on the range and show us a little drill we can do with this to really help you crush your fairway woods. So before we jump on the range and hit a drill, you'll see this ball is now sat down. I'm only a metre away from where I was, but it depends entirely how that ball runs and where it finishes. Here I'm going to move the ball further back. I'd probably think about going for a little bit more loft, but if we look at the ball flight I'm going to try and get from here, I'm certainly not going to try and carry the water, so I'm going to have to hit down on it just a little bit more, try and get a little bit steeper into the ball. So I'm going to use that leading edge even on the forward to get a really nice low shot out there. If you look at the differences in those ball flights, that's still up on the green, look. This club is absolutely ridiculous, but also you can see the turf interaction is a lot steeper. So I've actually taken a divot here. This isn't just a little bit of kind of fairway movement, this is a huge divot. Guys, let's jump on the range. Let's get Chris, the drill master, getting you hitting the fairway woods of your life.
So we're on the driving range now. We want to start to put this into practice. We want to think about exactly what James has just mentioned with ball position and how to hit different shots with your fairway wood. So if you are in the rough, you can still use your fairway wood if it's not too far sat down. If we do exactly what James said, if we're on the fairway, we're trying to get a little bit down into the golf ball, but it is shallower than hitting an iron. So I would have that ball position around about a ball inside my left heel. From there, it allows me still to load up into the top of my backswing and then transfer my weight and get into a nice athletic position here, taking some loft off and pressuring that golf ball, but we're not going to be taking a huge divot. So if I was to do that now, the same as James on the golf course, we'll see minimal interaction with the ground. We can get that ball launching nice and high and going towards our target. If James comes in here, there you can see I've bruised the grass, so I've still hit down ever so slightly. We can see a little bit of sand there, and that started the ball on line. We know that ball position is where we're going to be for a normal standard shot. If I'm now trying to play a lower shot, then I want to move that ball position ever so slightly back into my stance. If we move it ever so slightly back in the stance, we want to think that club is still working down, so that club path is still working out to the right. So if I'm in the rough and I'm trying to hit a little bit more down on it, what we need to make sure is we then open our stance ever so slightly. And you'll see with James's shot on the golf course, we've dramatically lowered the ball flight, but we still got the ball starting on the intended line we want. We can see the different turf interaction, and from there we're able to play different shots depending on where you're playing your golf, depending on what conditions you are. If you're playing in wind such as we are now, that backward ball position is great, but we need to make sure once it goes back, we open our stance ever so slightly. And okay, so you will see now we have changed to a different surface. We are off a mat, because one thing we see from fairway woods and why people mishit them is in the winter you're doing a lot of practice off fairway mats, off range mats even. And what you'll see is that from here I can hit a long way behind the golf ball and still get a reasonable strike and a reasonable launch. And what we see a lot of the times is people get their sternum working back. Because they know there's little amount of loft on this fairway wood, we often see we get into this kind of position. So there's a lot of loft on there, the club is actually working up. On a range mat, we'll still make some contact and it'll skid into the golf ball. So you'll start to think, oh yeah, I'm hitting my 3-wood perfect, get onto that first tee or onto your first par 5 where you're hitting 3-wood, and we'll misstrike it. We'll catch 6 inches behind, the ball will go just over the edge of this tee, and we're not going to get there. So using an alignment stick, again, is another great thing as a reference point of where your sternum wants to be. Once we've got our setup position for a normal shot, with that around about a ball inside my left heel, my sternum there is just behind that alignment stick, and we want to maintain that here. I'm not trying to fall back and gain more loft onto the golf club. I don't want to be falling back here. I want to make this swing where I get to the top of my backswing, I've not moved off, and as I come down into impact, you'll see I'm still over that position. I've not tried to gain some loft and help that golf ball into the air. If I do this well, you will see straight away a much lower flight, a much crisper strike, less loft, and a more penetrating golf shot to help you get good at golf.
Check out Simon. Thanks for having us.